Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and my closest friends in the world. So here's something I kind of wanted to like experiment with for a while. Now, you may remember earlier this year that we started checking out a lot of national anthems, and I really enjoyed doing it. And with so many that I still have yet to check out, what I decided to do was that I wanted to move all of my national anthem stuff onto one of my second channels, and so that when I go back to do all of them, I sort of want to be able to do them with a bit more of sort of like an insight, a bit of a better sort of knowledge about what I'm talking about, because I think that's just going to show us between what we started out with and then how far we've come. Because I've said before is that it's good sometimes to know very, very little because you can just sort of gradually know things a bit more over time. And with that being said, there was also something else I wanted to explore, and that is a lot of like video game OSTs. And certainly one of the big ones that sort of like grabs the imagination for so many people was the OST for the video game Elden Ring. Now, for those of you who have been living under a rock, because there's been a lot of news about Elden Ring's Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, is that Elden Ring is just about one of the most popular and probably one of the greatest open world video games ever made. Through its exploration, through its through the weaponry, through its weapon arts, its magic attacks, the challenges people do for it, the bosses, the designs for the bosses, the lore, the world, and it all comes together in one of the most important aspects of From Software's level design. Well, philosophy, I almost want to say, for game design, is that when it comes to its bosses. Now, I do also want to talk about a lot of the OSTs for things like Dark Souls, Dark Souls 2, Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, and there's probably a lot more out there as well. Maybe even possibly there's some hidden gems in Demon Souls as well. But what we're doing today is that we sort of wanted to explore like a lot of the bosses for Elden Ring, and I've heard there's quite a lot to go through because it would be really interesting to maybe even do like a ranking of all the OSTs, but maybe sort of like Elden Ring would be almost like a very different category anyway, because Elden Ring is such a different beast compared to the Dark Souls trilogy, to Bloodborne, to Sekiro. But with all that being said and done, I want to start off by talking about the first real boss character I sort of wanted to discuss, and that is Godrick the Grafted. Now, I am aware the fact that Godrick is not technically the first boss you fight. A lot of that is said to be Margit the Fell Omen, and I don't know whether or not him or Morgott the Omen King are the same characters or not, but what can I say? Godrick was sort of like the first person I wanted to talk about. So, with that being said, and I think it'll be a little bit more of a great feeling as well. Actually, I'll tell you what. I've got an idea. Um, I don't know whether actually. I'll tell you what. After this, when we actually cover the music, I sort of want to check out like the cutscenes of the bosses as well, because I know that Godrick is sort of like the weakest of is supposed to be like the weakest of the demigods, and how he's because he's also referred to as Godrick the Spider, and how he literally just gathers up corpses or living beasts and just sort of grafts them onto himself, or he'll graft things like eagles with blades and stuff like that, and how he has a fascination with like trying to graft himself onto a dragon or of that sort of nature, and how he himself refers to himself as the Lord of all things golden, but he looks like an abomination with at least like 7 or 6 fingers and 2 separate arms to wield axes. Actually, I've got a better idea. Let's do that first. How about let's actually try and do that. Let's check out like the cutscenes for like cutscene, because hopefully it's not gonna actually like we'll do the first part, and then because I know there's like Godrick has like 2 cutscenes, one before and one halfway through the fight. So let's see like the first one anyway. This is just so we can do sort of like a nice little transition into it, like that way. So this is in like Stormvale Castle, to my knowledge, and there he is.
Mighty dragon, thou art a true born heir. Lend me thy strength, O kindred. Deliver me unto greater heights. Well.
Unlovely tarnished.
Unlovely tarnished. Plain as a lord. I command thee now. I am the Lord of all that is golden.
So that's like the first phase. He stands there defiant, saying that he is, you are not getting in my way, and this is the music when the actual fight begins. So here it is, and I want to hear this, man, like big time. Oh my god, it's gorgeous. It's like creeping, but it's like creeping death. But there's almost meant to be something of like majesty. It's fear. It's fear, arcane, and a touch of like something holy, as though something divine is coming towards you. But it's not coming towards you to greet you. It is coming to kill you. So I think it's meant. Godrick is obviously, it's meant to cultivate quite a number of things, that he is still technically a demigod, but he is more of a disheveled being of himself, as opposed to the status of, let's say, any of the other demigods like Mikola or Radahn, and possibly even Rykard. I wonder if that's like the point, because somebody did tell me that's like the point where like phase 2, this is the transition to this. So apparently what happens is that Godrick, like halfway into the fight where he's at half health, he will cut off his own arm like this.
dragons. Lend me thy strength.
So yeah, he literally gets an entire flamethrower, and this is like that transition. So we go from creeping to whatever the hell you can imagine is going to happen next. Yeah, just terror. Just straight up terror. So, so sorry about that. That like the room's actually like very very dusty at the moment, but so as I mentioned before about the idea of like creeping death and terror, this, however, it like almost tries to go above it. It tries to go beyond that. Like Godrick is proven his demigod status, and yet now it's just devolved into the most absolutely unnatural sort of territory with his like dragon flamethrower arm, which that's a fantastic touch because it does like make the fight feel a bit more dramatic now that you have to deal with something with presumably very unnatural movement, but with something that can even close the distance with how not only how unnatural that Godrick moves, but how he can just close the distance and probably even eat you with his arm. And it just sort of just ends. I almost want to say it almost ends on a little bit of a like a dumb, like a little bit of a almost a very ungodly sort of like mode. But I suppose it's done because they make you want to end it as though there's no like dramatic like climax. They make you almost want to think that it just ends because there's nothing exceptional and all of his efforts were for nothing. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen. That was again the music to just listening to Godrick the Grafted, and definitely one of just starting doing this, and we're starting with with one of the absolute great examples right there. Is just it's fantastic. I think as well. Also, the point of doing this is that it also kind of almost sets a sort of even for those who've never played or ever experienced Elden Ring, it's a good way to communicate the idea to the audience about what these sorts of fights they're sort of trying to convey. And that's actually really useful, and it's very special the way they do it, the way they do. And again, considering that we'll be covering quite a lot of other things in this stance, this is probably not even going to be the exception to the rule. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and there's plenty more on its way. So hope you guys look forward to that, and I cannot wait to talk to you guys again in the next video. Take care, and bye-bye for now.